All right, strap in, everyone, because today we're taking you on a deep dive into the world of AI agents.
Buckle up.
We got this research paper you sent us, Agents, by Wiesinger, Marlowe, and Viskovich. And it is not what you might think when you hear research paper.
Yeah.
This is a wild ride.
It's really exciting stuff.
So to kind of set the stage for folks, we've all heard about AI that can, write poems or compose music or generate photorealistic images.
Right.
This paper is about taking it to a whole other level.
Right.
It's about AI that can take action in the real world using tools to accomplish goals.
That's right. Like, instead of just generating text, it can use that text to actually do something, like book you a flight or write an email or even control a robot.
Okay, so it's not just creating content.
Right.
It's using that content, using that intelligence to interface with the world around it.
Exactly, yeah. It's about taking action. And the paper really dives into how we can make that happen using something called agents.
Agents, okay. So like secret agents, they're going to be out there doing our bidding.
Kinda, yeah, I guess you could think of it that way. But instead of trench coats and gadgets, these agents are powered by AI, specifically generative AI models, like the ones behind things like ChatGPT or DALL-E.
Okay, so it's taking that same kind of technology that we're seeing with these large language models.
Yeah.
And instead of just giving it a prompt and saying, hey, write me a song.
Right.
It's giving it more agency, like the name suggests.
Exactly, yeah. Giving it goals and the tools to actually achieve them in the real world.
Okay, this is fascinating. So the paper breaks these agents down into three key components.
Yeah.
The model, the tools, and something called the orchestration layer.
Yeah, I like to think of it as the brain, the hands, and the manager. The model is the AI, the core intelligence. It could be a big one, like the language models we've talked about, or something smaller, more specialized. But it needs to be able to understand instructions, figure out how to get stuff done.
So that's the brain, the thinking part of the agent.
Mm-hmm.
What about the tools? What kind of things are we giving these AI agents access to?
Well, this is where it gets really cool, because the tools can be almost anything. We're talking APIs, so they can book flights or order food, tools that can run code, so they can automate tasks on your computer, access to databases full of information so they can do research or answer your questions. I mean, the possibilities are pretty much endless.
So they can interface with the digital world.
Yes.
They can interface with the real world.
They can interface with information. Yeah.
So they have all these tools at their disposal.
Right.
Then there's that third component you mentioned, the orchestration layer. What does that do?
That's the manager, right. It's the part that figures out how to use all those different tools in the right way to achieve a goal. It's like the conductor of an orchestra.
That's a good analogy. So you've got all these different instruments, these different tools,
right,
and it's figuring out how to bring them all together.
Exactly, yeah. It decides which tools to use, in what order, based on the goal, based on the instructions.
So, okay, I'm starting to get a picture of how these agents are structured. But how is this different from, say, a regular AI model, like the kind I might use to get a movie recommendation or something?
Right, so a typical AI model, it's kind of stuck in its own head. It can only work with the information it was trained on and gives you a single answer based on that knowledge.
So it's limited by its initial training data.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas an agent can actually go out and learn new things using these tools.
Exactly, yeah. It can search the internet, it can read documents, it can even have conversations to gather new information and update its understanding of the world.
Okay, so they're constantly learning, they're constantly evolving.
Right, and that's a big difference. And another thing is that agents can have a conversation with you, they can remember previous interactions, make multi-step plans. It's more like working with a teammate than just getting a one-off answer from a computer.
Interesting. So it's less like a one-and-done interaction and more like an ongoing collaboration.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we've got this idea of agents, these AI systems that can actually take action in the world.
Yeah.
But how do they actually work? The paper mentions something called cognitive architectures, which sounds pretty complex.
Yeah, it does sound kind of intimidating, but the idea is actually pretty simple. Think about how a chef works. They take an order, use ingredients and tools, and adjust based on how things are going, right?
They have a process, but they also have to adapt on the fly.
Exactly. And that's how agents work, too. They follow a loop. They take in information, figure out what to do next, maybe use some tools to take action, and then adjust based on the result.
So it's like a continuous cycle of thinking, doing, and learning.
Precisely. And the paper actually gives a great example of how this works in practice. Booking a flight.
Okay, so let's say I tell my AI agent, book me a flight to Zurich next Friday.
Right. So the agent's model would first think, okay, I need flight information. Then, using a framework like React to help it think step by step, it might decide, I'll use the Google Flights tool for that, and then specify Zurich next Friday.
So it's breaking the task down into these manageable steps.
Exactly. And then the Google Flights tool would give it back a bunch of flights, and the agent would use its intelligence to analyze them, present you with options, maybe even book the flight automatically if you give it permission.
So it's not just spitting out information, it's taking action based on my request.
Right, exactly. And that's just one example. Think about managing your calendar, writing emails, even controlling smart home devices. The possibilities are pretty amazing, and it's all based on this idea of agents using tools to accomplish goals.
Okay, I'm seeing how this could be incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
But how do we actually give these agents the tools they need? The paper mentions a few different ways to do that: extensions, functions, and data stores. Can you break those down for us?
Yeah, sure. I think of it like equipping your agent. Extensions are like pre-built tools, like having a toolbox with a hammer, screwdriver, wrench already in it. You just grab the one you need and start working.
So they're kind of like plug-and-play tools for specific tasks.
Exactly. There might be an extension for booking flights, one for managing emails, one for controlling your smart lights, and so on.
Got it. What about functions? Are those more like custom tools?
Yes, functions are like giving the agent raw materials and instructions for building a custom tool, like having a workshop where you can craft your own tools.
So it's a bit more hands-on.
Right. And this is useful for more complex or unique tasks where a pre-built extension might not exist. You're basically teaching the agent new tricks by defining these functions.
Okay, so you've got extensions for ready-made tools, functions for custom tools, and then there's data stores. What are those all about?
Data stores are like giving your agent a giant library full of information. It could be anything from Wikipedia to research papers to your personal notes. The agent can then tap into that information whenever it needs to learn something new or solve a problem.
So it's like giving them a boost of knowledge beyond their initial training.
Exactly. The more information an agent has access to, the better it can understand the world and the more effectively it can do its job.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. We've got the model thinking, the tools doing, the orchestration layer managing, and all these different ways to equip the agent with the tools it needs. But how do we actually make these agents smarter? The paper talks about ways to enhance their performance, which I'm guessing is pretty important if we want them to be truly helpful.
Absolutely. Just like with any skill, practice and specialized knowledge made a big difference. And the paper highlights a few ways we can boost an agent's abilities. One is in-context learning, basically giving the agent a crash course on a specific topic.
So it's like saying, hey, here's how to do this particular thing, now you try it.
Yeah, it's like showing a chef a few different ways to prepare a dish and then letting them experiment.
So it's like on-the-job training for AI agents.
Exactly. And then there's this thing called retrieval-based in-context learning. It's a mouthful, but it basically means giving the agent access to relevant information while it's learning.
Okay, so it's like giving them a reference guide during the test.
Kind of, more like giving a chef access to their entire recipe collection while trying out a new dish. They can look things up, get inspiration, which helps them learn more effectively.
Okay, so they have the resources they need to learn and adapt. And then the paper mentions one more way to enhance performance: fine-tuning based learning. What's that all about?
Think of it like sending a chef to culinary school. You train the agent on a massive data set beforehand, giving it a deep understanding of a specific area.
So it's like giving them a really intensive course before they even start working.
Exactly. If you want an agent that's really good at writing marketing copy, you fine-tune it on tons of marketing materials.
Yeah.
Then it gets that style, that expertise.
Okay, so we can use these different techniques to make our agents more specialized, more effective.
Right.
But this all sounds pretty complex. How easy is it to actually build one of these agents? Do you need like a PhD in AI?
Actually, no. That's one of the most exciting things about this field is that there are open source tools out there that make building agents surprisingly accessible, even if you're not a hardcore programmer.
Oh, really? So you're telling me I could potentially build my own AI agent, like one that could manage my to-do list or something?
Absolutely. The paper actually walks through an example using a library called LangChain. It's basically a set of building blocks for creating agents.
Okay, now that's getting me interested. What kind of example do they give in the paper?
They show how you can build an agent that can answer multi-stage questions using a language model, a search tool, and the Google Places API, which lets you get information about places.
Multi-stage question. What does that mean?
Like, imagine you ask, who did the Texas Longhorns play in football last week? And what's the address of their stadium?
Okay, so two related questions, but the agent needs to figure out the first one before it can answer the second.
Right. It has to use the search tool to find out who they played, and then the Places API to find the stadium address.
So it's using different tools to put the pieces together.
Exactly. And that's just a simple example. You can build much more complex agents with LangChain, agents that can do all sorts of amazing things.
This is mind-blowing. It seems like anyone could build their own AI assistant with these tools.
Yeah, the possibilities are really exciting.
But what about people who want to go bigger? Build something more industrial strength? Is there something out there for them?
There is. If you're looking for something really powerful and scalable, something that can handle a ton of users or complex tasks, there are platforms like Google's Vertex AI.
So this is for the folks building the next Siri or Alexa.
Exactly. It's a managed environment, meaning you don't have to worry about all the technical complexities. You can just focus on designing the agent and its tools.
So it's like having a professional-grade kitchen compared to your home kitchen. You have all the tools and support you need to create something truly amazing.
That's a great analogy. And the best part is, Vertex AI makes it much easier to build agents that can be used in real-world applications, whether it's for customer service, productivity, or even scientific research.
This is incredible. It seems like the possibilities are pretty much endless.
Yeah.
But before we get carried away, let's talk about responsibility. With all this power at our fingertips, how do we make sure we're using AI agents wisely?
That's a really important point. We've got all this amazing potential, but we need to make sure we're developing and using it responsibly.
So it's not just about making them smart and capable, it's about making sure they're used for good.
Exactly. We need to think about the ethical implications, make sure they align with human values, and that they're used to benefit society as a whole. It's a big conversation, but a crucial one.
I completely agree. We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive. We've talked about what agents are, how they work, the different types of tools they can use, and even how to build them. But where does all of this lead? What's the future of AI agents?
That's the big question, isn't it? And honestly, the possibilities are pretty mind-blowing. As these agents get smarter, they could revolutionize how we live, work, and interact with the world. We're really just at the beginning of this journey.
That's exciting and maybe a little bit daunting, too.
I think so. It's a powerful technology with a lot of potential, but it's up to us to shape its development and ensure it leads to a future that benefits everyone.
Well said. Any final thoughts for our listeners as they continue to explore the world of AI agents?
Here's something to ponder. As AI agents get smarter and more integrated into our lives, will they start to resemble us? Will they develop their own unique ways of thinking and solving problems? And if so, what does that mean for the future of humanity?
Whoa, that's a big question. Definitely something to think about. And on that note, we'll wrap up this first part of our deep dive into AI agents. Be sure to join us for part 2, where we'll explore some real-world applications of this technology and see how agents are already making a difference in various fields.
See you there.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of AI agents. Last time, we left off with a pretty big question. What's the future of this technology? And, well, it's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of buzz around AI agents right now, but it's not just hype. We're already seeing them being used in some really cool ways, like actual real-world applications.
Okay, see, that's what I'm really curious about. Like, we talked about all this amazing potential, but can you give us some examples of how people are using AI agents today? Like, what can they actually do?
Oh, absolutely. One area where they're already making a big impact is in customer service.
Yeah.
You know those chatbots you see on websites?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of those are powered by AI agents now. Instead of just following a script, they can use their intelligence to understand what you need, provide personalized help, and even learn from each interaction to get better over time.
Okay, so they're not just spitting out canned responses. They're actually understanding what you're asking and trying to help you solve your problem.
Exactly. And for businesses, it's a game changer. These AI agents can handle those routine inquiries 247, freeing up human agents to deal with more complex or sensitive issues.
It's like having a whole team of super efficient virtual assistants. Right?
Right.
They can take care of those repetitive tasks, letting the human experts focus on the stuff that really requires a personal touch.
Exactly. And it's not just customer service. AI agents are popping up in other areas too, like personal productivity. There are apps that can help you manage your schedule, book appointments, even automate things like sending emails or paying bills.
So they can, like, actually save you time and effort in your daily life.
Yeah. It's like having a personal assistant who can anticipate your needs and take care of things proactively.
Okay, now you're just making me want one of these AI agents for myself. But seriously, this all sounds super helpful for everyday tasks. What about more specialized fields? Are AI agents being used in areas like finance or healthcare or even scientific research?
Oh, absolutely. And that's where things get really interesting. In finance, AI agents are being used to analyze market data, identify investment opportunities, and even execute trades. Some hedge funds are even experimenting with using AI agents to manage their entire portfolios.
Whoa, that's some next level stuff. So these AI agents are actually making decisions that could impact like millions of dollars.
Yeah, it's pretty high stakes. Of course, there's always risk involved in financial markets, but AI agents are proving to be valuable tools for investors who are looking for an edge. They can process vast amounts of data, spot patterns that humans might miss, and make decisions in a fraction of a second.
It's like having a super-powered financial analyst working around the clock.
Right.
What about healthcare? Are AI agents making a difference there too?
Absolutely. Healthcare is another area where AI has huge potential. AI agents are being used to help with things like diagnosis, treatment planning, and even remote patient monitoring. We're even seeing them being used in drug discovery and development, helping to accelerate the search for new cures and treatments.
Okay, so we're talking about potentially life-saving applications here. That's pretty incredible.
It is, and because they can learn and adapt, these agents are getting better all the time. They're constantly analyzing new data, refining their models, and improving their accuracy. It's like having a medical expert who's always up to date on the latest research and advancements.
So we've gone from AI agents booking flights to managing financial portfolios to potentially revolutionizing healthcare. It seems like there's no limit to what they can do. But before we get too carried away with all the amazing possibilities, let's talk about something we touched on earlier, responsibility. With all this power at our fingertips, how do we make sure we're using it wisely?
Yeah, that's a crucial point. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of all this new technology, but we can't forget about the ethical implications.
So it's not just about building AI that's smart and capable. It's about making sure it's used for good and that it doesn't cause harm.
Exactly. We need to be really thoughtful about how we develop and deploy these AI agents. We need to make sure that they align with human values, that they're fair and unbiased, and that they're used to benefit society as a whole.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? Are there like guidelines or rules in place for how to build and use AI agents ethically?
Well, that's a complex question. And to be honest, it's still a work in progress. The field is moving so fast that it's hard for regulations to keep up. But there's a growing movement to establish those ethical frameworks, to create guidelines for responsible AI development.
So it's like we're figuring things out as we go, but we know that these ethical considerations are super important.
Exactly. We need to be proactive, not reactive. We need to think about these issues now before they become problems later on.
So what are some of the key things we need to be thinking about as we develop and deploy AI agents? What are the big concerns?
Well, one of the biggest ones is transparency. We need to be able to understand how these agents are making decisions, especially when those decisions have a big impact on people's lives. It's not enough to have a black box that just spits out answers. We need to know the reasoning behind those answers.
So we need to be able to look under the hood, so to speak, and see how the AI is arriving at its conclusions.
Exactly, and that's where explainable AI comes in. Researchers are working on ways to make AI more transparent so that we can understand the logic behind its decisions and make sure it's not biased or making unfair judgments.
That makes sense. If we're going to trust these agents to make important decisions, we need to be able to understand how they're making those decisions.
Right. And another big concern is control. We need to make sure that humans are ultimately in control of these agents and that we can intervene if necessary. We don't want to create AI systems that are completely autonomous and operate without any human oversight.
So it's about finding that balance between AI autonomy and human control, making sure that we're always the ones calling the shots, so to speak.
Exactly. We want to use AI agents as tools to augment human intelligence, not to replace it entirely. We need to make sure that we're always the ones steering the ship.
Okay, so we've got transparency and control. What else do we need to be thinking about? What are some of the other ethical considerations when it comes to AI agents?
Well, another big one is security. As with any computer system, AI agents can be vulnerable to hacking or malicious attacks. We need to make sure that they're built with strong security measures in place to protect sensitive data and prevent unauthorized access.
So we need to make sure these agents are not only doing the right thing, but they're doing it safely and securely.
Right. We don't want to create powerful AI systems that could potentially be used for harmful purposes. We need to think about the potential risks and put safeguards in place to mitigate those risks. It's about being responsible stewards of this technology.
Okay, so transparency, control, security, these are all crucial aspects of responsible AI development. It's a lot to consider. But it's exciting to see that these conversations are happening, that people are thinking about these issues seriously.
It is. It's a new frontier, and there's a lot to learn. But that's what makes it so fascinating. We have the opportunity to shape the future of AI, to make sure that it's a future that benefits all of humanity.
This has been a really insightful conversation. We've covered so much ground. From real-world applications to ethical considerations, it's been quite the journey. Any final thoughts for our listeners as they continue to explore this amazing world of AI agents?
Here's something to ponder. We've talked about the potential of AI agents to automate tasks, but what about their potential to enhance human creativity? Could these agents actually become our partners in the creative process, helping us to generate new ideas and push the boundaries of human imagination?
Wow, that's a really cool thought.
Yeah.
I love the idea of AI not just doing work for us, but working with us to create something new and beautiful.
It's definitely a possibility worth exploring. AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used in all sorts of creative and unexpected ways. It's up to us to use our imagination and see what we can build together.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into AI agents.
Part 3.
I feel like we've already explored so much, from the basics of how these agents work to real-world applications and even those big ethical questions.
It's been a wild ride.
But I'm really excited to talk about what's next. What does the future hold for this technology? What are the trends that have you really excited about the possibilities?
Well, one thing that I think is particularly cool is the development of what we call multimodal agents. These are agents that can perceive and act using multiple senses, kind of like we do as humans.
Multimodal
Yes.
agents. Okay, so instead of just interacting with text, they can see, hear, maybe even touch. That sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
It does, right. But it's actually closer than you might think. We're already seeing early examples of multimodal agents in research labs. Some are software programs, others are actually embodied in robots. And they can do some pretty amazing things.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, imagine an agent that can not only understand your spoken commands, but also interpret visual information from its surroundings.
Hmm.
It could help you find something in a really cluttered room, maybe describe a scene in detail for someone who can't see it themselves.
Okay, yeah, so it's understanding the context.
Right. It's not just about language anymore. It's about understanding the world in a much richer, more human-like way.
This is fascinating.
Yeah.
But when we talk about multimodal agents, are we talking about actual robots here, or is this more of a software thing?
It could be both. We're already seeing multimodal agents in research labs that exist as software programs and others that are embodied in robots. There are agents that can navigate complex environments, manipulate objects, even have simple conversations, all while taking in that sensory input.
Wow, it's like the lines are blurring between the digital world and the physical world.
Exactly, and that's going to have a huge impact on how we interact with technology in the future.
This is mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah.
What else is on the horizon in this field? What other trends are you watching?
Well, another trend that I'm really excited about is the rise of collaborative agents. Imagine a team of specialized agents all working together like a well-oiled machine, each bringing its own unique skills to the table.
Okay, so instead of just one agent trying to solve a problem, you could have a whole squad of them, like coordinating and strategizing just like a human team.
Precisely. Think about planning a big event, for example.
Okay.
You could have one agent handling logistics, another focusing on guest invitations, and another researching entertainment options. They could share information, adapt their plans dynamically, and work together seamlessly to make sure everything runs smoothly.
Wow, that's impressive. It's like having a team of super efficient event planners working for you 24/7. But where else could these collaborative agents be useful? I mean, what other fields could benefit from this kind of teamwork?
The possibilities are really endless. Think about scientific research, where you could have agents analyzing data, running simulations, and designing experiments collaboratively. Or disaster response, where they could coordinate search and rescue efforts, assess damage, and distribute resources in real time.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
It seems like there's no limit to what these collaborative agents could accomplish. But what about the even bigger picture? Where do you see this whole field of AI agents heading in the long term?
One vision that a lot of people are excited about is the idea of agent ecosystems. Imagine a world where anyone can create and share agents just like we share apps today.
Yeah.
You could have an app store, but for AI agents, filled with agents for everything from personalized tutors and fitness coaches to financial advisors and travel
Oh,
planners.
wow. An app store for AI agents? That's a game changer.
Right.
It would be like having access to this whole marketplace of specialized AI assistants. I can see that being pretty popular.
I think so too. And as these ecosystems develop, we could even see agents interacting and collaborating with each other, forming complex networks that can solve problems in ways we can't even imagine right now.
Okay, this is all very exciting, but it's also a little bit mind-boggling to think about. Let's bring it back down to earth for a second.
Okay.
We've talked about all these incredible possibilities, but what are some of the challenges that need to be overcome to actually make this vision a reality?
You're right. There are definitely challenges. One of the biggest ones is the technical challenge of developing agents that are really robust and reliable.
Okay.
We need agents that can understand complex instructions, adapt to unforeseen situations, and learn from their mistakes. It's
Yeah.
not just about building AI that's smart, it's about building AI that's trustworthy.
So we need to know that these agents are going to do what we expect them to do,
Mm.
that they're going to be reliable partners.
Exactly. And another challenge is ensuring that these agents are accessible and beneficial to everyone, not just the select few. We need to be very mindful of issues of fairness, equity, and inclusion when developing these systems to make sure that they're used to create a more just and equitable world for everyone.
That's a crucial point.
So,
We don't want AI to exacerbate existing inequalities. We want it to help create a better future for everyone.
right. And finally, I think we need to have a lot of open and honest conversations about the societal impact of AI agents. As they become more integrated into our lives, we need to really think about their role in society, their potential benefits and risks, and how we can shape their development in a way that aligns with our values.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about how we use it and the impact it has on our lives and our world.
Exactly. AI agents have the potential to be incredibly powerful tools, but like any tool, they can be used for good or for ill. It's really up to us to ensure that they're used wisely and ethically to create a better future for all.
Well, I think that's a perfect note to end on. This has been an incredible deep dive into the world of AI agents. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and insights with us.
It's been my pleasure. It's a fascinating topic, and I'm always excited to talk about it.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and maybe even inspired you to explore the world of AI agents for yourselves. Who knows, maybe you'll be the one to build the next groundbreaking AI agent.
The future is wide open.
Absolutely. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.